Hi, my name is Rachel and today I'm going to show you how to make a memory bear look like it's wearing a shirt. So this is the bear I'm going to be using as my demo bear, and I'm going to show you exactly how you attach the collar and the button strip to your bear so that the bear looks like it's wearing that shirt. So if I just turn it round, you can see that the collar there is going all the way around, and I'll show you every step from cutting out the collar and the button strip or button placket, and then exactly how to attach it and how to size it so that it fits. Thanks for watching. The first step of making a memory bear that's wearing a shirt collar is to cut the collar and the strip with the buttons on, that's also called a shirt placket, away from the rest of the shirt's fabric. When you do this, leave a margin of around 1 inch all the way around. Next, fully make your memory bear, including sewing the ladder stitches up the back. Now return to the collar from the shirt, and you can see that one side of the button placket there is a seam that's made by the manufacturer that's sitting above where the rest of the fabric is. So you can just trim this piece away. So just hold it up and just snip the excess fabric away. So this isn't going to fray because the seam is there, and I'll finish this in a moment. And then if we just move the collar around, you can see that the same thing happens around here. So without causing any problems with your fabric fraying or not looking right once it's on your bear, snip the excess fabric all the way up this side of the placket and around the collar. Here is my shirt collar and my button placket after I've cut all the way up the edge of this folded side of the button placket, and I've trimmed all the way around the back of the collar. When I've gotten to this side though, because there isn't a seam here, it's just sewn, I can't just cut this because this will be a raw edge of fabric and it will fray. So instead, when I got to the end of the shirt collar here, I cut right up to where the fabric is doubled over. You can feel it underneath, you can see it underneath. And I'm just going to fold this piece under and I'm going to pin it. So if I just flip it over, so I am just folding the piece of fabric underneath and pinning it. You could use a bit of fabric glue on this as well, it could make it a bit easier for you. This is the shirt placket now that I've folded the raw edge under, and I've put a bit of fabric glue on it just to hold it, and then I've put the shirt collar onto my bear. So I did the buttons back up, dropped the shirt collar back onto my bear's head, and if I turn it round you can see that where the shirt collar is too big, I have pleated the fabric and I've worked out where I will need to put a seam into the shirt collar. So I've put a pin at the top here, and that will make the collar the right size. And then I've got these yellow pins here on the outer edge of the collar and these blue pins here on the inner edge of the collar. And this is just to plan exactly where my seam's going to go to make my collar fit my bear. So I will now undo this orange pin, and I am going to lift the collar off, and I'm just going to fold this bit inside and just double check that I think it will all work before I take it to my sewing machine. I've taken the collar off my bear, and this is the right side of the fabric where you can see the buttons, and here this is the right side of the collar. And so let's just move my thumbs round, which is still on the right side of the fabric, and then let's just fold this collar so that right side of fabric goes together. And here's my yellow pins here at the top, and let's just take one out and pin that the layers together in exactly the same place. Oops, that's gone wonky. There we are. And do the same at the bottom of the collar. So where these two blue pins are, I'm just going to take one out and repin in exactly the same position like so, and then I'm going to just drop this back onto my bear and make sure it's the right size before I sew that seam. I've checked my collar and these pins are in the right place when I put the collar onto the bear. So next I'm just going to get my ruler and I'm going to draw a line from where this pin here is at the top of the collar down to where this pin here is at the bottom of the collar, and then I'm going to take the collar across to the sewing machine and sew top to bottom. This is thick fabric, so do use a sewing machine needle that's suitable for thick fabric, otherwise your needle will break, it won't go through the layers, okay? And do make sure at the top of the seam and at the bottom of the seam, do a few reverse stitches both sides just to secure that line of thread. I've sewn my line of stitches here, so this is the end that's been folded round. I'm just going to cut here, and I am then going to take the collar across to my ironing board and press this collar both sides to press that seam open. I'm on to the final stage now of sewing the collar, and I have pressed open this seam at the back. Next I'm going to sew a line of stitches from one side to the other here, one side to the other here, and I'll do them around 1 centimetre or maybe ½ an inch away from this central seam, and this is to hold these edges of fabric nice and flat, and then I'll cut off the excess in a moment. I have sewn my lines of stitches either side of this central back seam, and now I'm just going to turn the collar over. I'm going to snip this excess fabric away, and I'm going to do it nice and neatly, and I'm going to use my pinking shears so that the collar will not fray. So here's my collar now, here's my central line of stitches, and here's a line of stitches either side, and I have then turned it over and I have cut either side using my pinking shears, and now this is the open back of the collar. I'm going to sew a line of stitches just along here just to secure these bits so it's all nice and neat. Then we'll pop it onto the bear and stitch it into position. You will notice that this bear has been made to look as if it's wearing trousers or pants, and I've done this by using the same fabric on the outer legs, the inner legs, and then putting a piece of fabric across the bottom of the back of the bear's body and the bottom of the front of the bear's tummy. Now I've made a little PDF template to show you how to do this if you're making Betsy Bear, and I'll put the link to that in the description below. So the collar is now fully prepared, and I've put it back onto my bear, and I have put a pin in the front here to pin it into the central front seam of the bear, and I've put another pin at the back here to pin it in the central back seam of the bear. Now I'm just going to pin the placket correctly into position, and I've snipped the back piece so that it's not going to get in the way, so I haven't got too much fabric. I'm just going to fold this piece underneath, and then I'm just going to line it all up and pin it so that the bottom of the placket finishes at the line of the bottom of the shirt, so it does look like this is a shirt that's been tucked into trousers. This is all pinned into the correct position now, and to secure the placket and the collar onto the bear, I'm just going to ladder stitch all the way around. So I'll run a thread just through the fold here, and then through the bear's body, and then through the fold, and then through the bear's body, so I can come down here and around the bottom of the placket and up, and then I'll finish that line of stitching, and then I will do another line of stitching to secure the back of the collar into the bear's body. So again, a ladder stitch, and then it will all be finished. So I hope you found this video tutorial really helpful, and if you could give it a thumbs up or add a comment, I really appreciate it. Thank you.